Hi, welcome everyone. Who wants to rig the upcoming governorship elections in Anambra with a budget of $4 million? $4 million is a huge amount of money. But in terms of Nigerian politics, some politicians can be desperate. So $4 million to them is actually not a huge amount. And this story, when it first came up, many people thought it was just maybe some parties were campaigning choice words, to trigger people or to appeal to their followers. But it has started gaining ground. A lot of dailies have published the stories, although no one is pointing a particular finger. But the major reason politicians in Nigeria can spend any amount of money in order to acquire political position is because they know they can legitimately or maybe semi-legitimately make that money back when they get to office. We will see more on that later, on how they are able to recover that money semi-legitimately anyway. So, who is the person that is hell-bent on rigging the Anambra elections? First of all, there are many contestants, as you all know already. You have Andy Uba from the Oba family that once served Obasanjo. He was formerly in his kitchen cabinet, in Obasanjo's kitchen cabinet, as one of the assistants. And you have the other Ifeanyi Uba, the current senator representing Anambra South Senatorial. And you have, of course, Soludo, the former CBN governor. You also have Ozibo, the one representing PDP. Also, you have Madoka, the doctor from US. So, these are the major people that are contesting in the election. And out of them, you can say that maybe all of them can afford $4 million. So, whoever it is, let's do a little backstory to see why it has never worked. The richest person in an election is not the determining factor that will prove that he will win the election. Money has never worked. Politics is about tactics, about convincing people, throwing out the right words. The backstory is the fact that Anambrarians at the time were voting for PDP. As a matter of fact, since 1999, when the Fourth Republic started, Anambrarians were only voting PDP. They voted for PDP in 1999, both at the federal and state level, and that was the election that produced Odera, the former governor, Chinwoke Mbadinuju. But he performed so woefully. In fact, under him, primary school students didn't go to school for about 14 months or so. A lot of workers weren't paid, pensioners. It was a horror show that Anambra has never witnessed, So he reached to a level, they had a faction in PDP, So that faction were doing their own things parallel, congresses, many things. So when the 2003 elections was approaching, they couldn't decide on the candidate. They held the first primary at Oka, that was at Marble Arch. It didn't work out. They held another one, that was Women Development Center, and they shouted rigging again. It didn't work. Then they now said they will move the primaries to Abuja. Around that time, Ekiti State also had their primaries at Ego Square, Abuja. So when the many delegates came and they were waiting to have primaries and determine who will be their governor under PDP, to their utter surprise, it was through the papers they now saw that PDP has finally settled for Ngige. Ngige was never part of the contestants. America wonder that they do in Nigerian politics. Ngige was never part of the contestants. He was He was actually the PDP zonal secretary of the Southeast. So because Obasanjo was hell-bent on imposing who will be the candidate, he insisted that people from Oba family, talking about Andy Oba now, people from Oba family must benefit. That was why he wanted to hand the reins of power to them. So since Andy Oba couldn't run, not that he couldn't run, Obasanjo wanted to stay with him till 2007. That time he would now go and run for the elections. So they needed somebody that would hold it. To cut the whole story short, the other party that didn't accept Ngige resolved to enter APGA. This was how P2B benefited from the system, because Peter originally didn't win the elections, the primary elections in APGA. It was won by one Ikolo, Oka, who was already campaigning before P2B went to Ojukwu and, did a lot of legwork, and he was given the flag in Abuja by Chekwas. So that time no one knew, or maybe they didn't want to bother to go to court and seek redress. The Ikolo was the actual person that won the primaries. The Ikolo now went and joined ANPP. That was George Mogalo. When he was contesting, the Ikolo now became his deputy for the 2003 elections. So that was how it happened, and that other faction of PDP that have moved en masse to APGA, their reason was because they believed Anambrarians deserve to determine who will be their flag bearer, not people in Abuja. So that resolve of grassroots politicians that time is what is behind the success of APGA today, because they moved en masse to APGA, voted for P2B. Of course, they rigged the election in favor of Ngige because they knew he wasn't popular. As a matter of fact, during his campaign, people were throwing him pure water and all whatnot because they didn't know him. Nobody knew him and Anambra then, So they rigged the elections, and Peter was able to go to court and recover his mandate. This Andy Uba too contested in the elections of 2007. Of course, APGA didn't contest. You cannot be saying in court that the election is illegal and you'll be contesting also, taking part in the election. So they declared Andy Uba winner, and under 2 weeks or so, the court struck him off, So up to this present day, Anambra has been under the leadership of APGA. Getting back to why politicians think or ways they recover their money, apart from corruption, that's the basic of over-invoicing or, outright kickback from contractors and all whatnot. Apart from that, there is this issue of security vote. The security vote is a huge problem in Nigeria. People who are entrusted with the power to take security votes, these are people in executive positions that hold offices. Some of them are elected, some of them are appointed. It used to be 60 million naira per month for a governor, and that 60 million naira, how it works is once a new month starts, they will just go and withdraw that money cash and put it in a drawer. They will maybe call the director of SSS of their state, give him 5 million. If there is a military command in your area, in your state, they call the commander, give him his own 5 million. Commissioner of police, 5 million or thereabout. That's it. Every other agency, security agency, maybe civil defense, give him his own, and the rest, whom, in the pocket of the governor. So this is not actually how the writers of the Constitution envisaged political office holders to utilize the security vote. The security vote is meant for emergencies. There's something going on here. There's a house burning down. There's a natural disaster. There's a flood, serious flooding, there's landslide happening here, there's heavy rain happening, instead of going to the state assembly to demand money to tackle some of these emergencies, the governor will now use that security vote to mobilize men, mobilize people and put things under control. It might be in the night, heavy rain is, sweeping a lot of people away. You have to mobilize men to help them. That's how the security vote is supposed to be utilized. That's the original intent why the security vote was added, so that the governor can have that leeway to perform without the need to go to their state assembly. Going not that far are all too long in terms of emergency. So these are just the examples of how it's supposed to be utilized. The worst part of it is that when that money is taken, hardly do they return them. We cannot even know, because according to the Constitution, you can't render account of how the money was used. Even the state assembly cannot call the governor to render account on the use of the security vote. So that security vote is more or less a salary, because you have a right to take something in cash, such amount of money in cash, and you cannot account for it. It's more or less like a salary or an allowance, sort of, So imagine 60 million naira or thereabout for just 2 years. That's 60 times 12, already 1 point something billion naira. Multiply that by 4 years. So it's already a huge attraction to become a governor. It's like a monetary incitement, During the time of Ibori, when there was this war, the war in Saple, the news was carried by a lot of dailies then that he increased the monthly security vote to 500 million naira. That was a long time ago. They claimed that they were paying allowance to soldiers, that the federal government deployed soldiers to Delta State to help quell the crisis, but they, as the state government, had to, support the soldiers. Did they claim around 3,000 naira per day or so they were paying soldiers? Some soldiers said they were giving them 150 or 500, thereabout. So the security vote is a serious form of corruption in governance. And because it cannot even be questioned, the only way you can question the security vote is when maybe that money is caught in cash. Maybe they see that money in someone's boot or something, What it means is that no one can question a governor, a president, anybody that is in an executive position, a local government chairman, that deserves security vote, that can take security vote. No one can question that person, how that money was utilized. He cannot give account. Is he supposed to return that money at the end of the month, assuming the money wasn't fully utilized? Yes, that person is supposed to return that money. But how do we know if he returned or if he did not return? So it's a very complicated process that we should find ways around to improve and reform the system in future, In a few days, the election will be held. If you're living in Anambra and you are eligible to vote, you have to go out and vote. Because if you do not go out to vote, the people that voted will be counted, So you have to make that difference. Vote first. Do not say that your vote will not count. Go out and vote first. Yes, you have to vote before you say your vote did not count. Because if you don't vote, you didn't vote. Your vote isn't there. So go out and vote en masse so that you can determine your governor, so that the popular person can become the governor. If not, if you don't go out to vote during the elections, the unpopular person might become the governor, because fewer people voted for the popular person. So he might not win. It's better you people go out and vote, because there is security. Don't be cowed by cowards that are shouting that election will not be held. If election doesn't hold, what does that mean? That is complete anarchy. So do well to go out and vote. We'll be bringing you more updates about politics going on about the elections before or even after the elections. Stay tuned. Till next time. Thanks for watching.